What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8 of Bound to Improve. My name is Lennon Eller.
And I'm Chris Pound. Let's get right into it. The book that we chose to read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What are your thoughts overall?
It was good. A solid, basic, foundations for your own personal finances. So yeah, I thought it was good in that sense.
Implementation from last week?
Yeah. So we had a joint one, and that was we were going to stick to the plan.
Yep.
So we said we were going to see this podcast through for at least to next year.
Yep. 52 books in 52 weeks. Last week I had to pull 2 books in a week. And if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do for this process to continue. I'm willing to do it.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's get right into the summary of the book for Rich Dad Poor Dad. So this book was broken up into 9 chapters, and the first 6 were lessons, key lessons. So going into the intro, he really wanted to convey the mindset shift from poverty to broke to financial independence. Poverty is eternal. You can't really escape it. Broke is temporary, and financial independence is what it sounds like. You have the ability to kind of do what you want, and you're not really concerned about the money aspect.
He really hits on the fact of the importance of financial education. And he even goes as far to say that they're not teaching it in schools, and so the only way to learn is from somebody else or a friend or a parent. And so I guess what was your biggest takeaway from that chapter?
So he ended the chapter with a poem from Robert Frost, and I'm not going to expose the main quote because that is actually one of my favorite quotes for the week. So I'm going to save that.
Mine was change I can't to how can I, right? If you're automatically telling yourself that, I can't do this, then no, you're not going to be able to do it. Got to change it to how can I do this? And that's something that could be an implementation in itself.
Yeah. Let's roll right into lesson 1 here. The rich don't work for money. So to give a little background on this concept for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert, the author, had 2 different dads. So his first one was his poor dad, or his actual father. His father had a very successful career. He was very intelligent, and he went through the educational system.
He worked a normal job.
Yeah, in a sense. But he was always poor, and he wanted Robert to get a good education and a stable job with benefits. But the rich dad, on the other hand, which is actually his best friend's dad, taught him that this approach, or what Robert's poor dad was doing, leads to a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. And he spells out the rest of the principles on how not to do this throughout the book.
Yeah, so I guess here, working for money versus working or having money work for you. The poor and the middle class, they work for money. Money comes in, they pay tax on it, and then they spend. When money works for you, we'll talk about it later in chapters, but
how they separate themselves.
Understanding how to use taxes and corporations to your advantage, that's when your money really starts to work for you.
Yeah. So why do people fall into this, like they work for money? It's because of 2 key emotions, fear and greed. Most people are controlled by fear of not paying their bills, being fired, etc. And they also have greed, or the desire for material joys. And this kind of goes into a cycle. So they have fears of not paying their bills. So they go clock in, they get their 40 hours a week, then they have money, then they pay their bills, and they might have some left over. So then what happens? What gets them?
The rat race.
Yeah, the greed, essentially. And they go buy new cars, things that they cannot finance. Liabilities, in a sense. And then this translates back into fear. Mm-hmm. And then they have to go back to work to go pay those bills. Yeah. And it's just a continuous cycle.
He hits on the fact that money is an illusion. It's a creation based on confidence and collective belief that many people chase money like a donkey chasing a carrot.
Yeah.
Without realizing that they're trapped in the endless cycle, the endless rat race. Just every day pedaling on a little wheel that no matter what they do, they're always going to be in that little wheel.
Yeah.
And he kind of explains on how to get out of the rat race. And so the donkey analogy.
Yeah, the donkey analogy is really, so you have your business owner in a sense, and he has a fishing pole out in front of the carriage.
You're the donkey. The employee is the donkey.
Yes, with the carrot, which is translates to like money, and the donkey only sees right in front of him. He only sees that carrot, that joy at the end of the 40-hour work week when you get your paycheck. The owner is getting to where he wants to go.
He's leading you with the carrot.
He's almost like using you in a sense while also rewarding you for
working.
Yeah. So our main takeaways from this first lesson is, I have actually a question for you. Do you really think people realize they're stuck in the rat race? Or do you think it's a concept that kind of, oh, that's not me, that's someone else?
Or I would say people don't even realize it, right? They've gone through the education system, they've gotten good grades, they've gotten college degrees, and now they feel like they finally made it into the real world, but they have to work 40 hours plus a week just to pay the bills. Depending on where you live, that those bills could very well add up to be more than what you're making, and that leads to the debt and again hoping for a promotion. But when you get into promotions, really what you're doing is just again just the rat race, because once you get the I need more money, so the promotion is going to help me get to where I want to be. Or when you get that promotion, you're just going to start spending the money like you used to do. You're not going to be putting any away, and that's how people get stuck in the rat race.
Yeah. My next takeaway here is the idea of emotional IQ and mental resilience. So you cannot allow emotions to control your thinking. So this goes back to Marcus Aurelius again. You have to be able to use fear and greed to your advantage. So the rich also are influenced by fear, fear of not losing the money. So how can you use that fear to kind of cultivate a desire to go out and make a better life, to escape the rat race in a sense? And how do you use that greed to desire a better life for you, your family, and the people you care about most? And the last idea here for mental resilience is you have to be able to accept life's pushes. Life is constantly going to change, shove you in every which direction. It's how you stand back up after you fall down and navigate where you're going to go. Most people just kind of turn a blind eye and take the push. Whereas the key difference here in the people that stand out is the ability to really process why that happened in the first place and how you can prevent that from happening in the future.
Yeah, for me, the quicker you understand that you may be the problem, the quicker you're going to be able to change and grow.
Yeah.
And that can be in business and relationships or in school. Second one here, job is a short-term answer to a long-term problem. Long-term problem, thinking money, right? You're thinking, if I go work as hard as I can for 40 hours a week, it's gonna help me long term. Okay, well, if you're just spending every dollar that you ever make, including taxes and this and that and this and that, the long term problem just gets pushed out. It's like you're kicking the rock down the road. Eventually, you're gonna see the rock again, and that's the rat race.
And I think this is an interesting concept, because how I thought of it, you have to start somewhere, in a sense. So, like if you're going to school and getting that initial degree, how are you going to pay for your expenses? So I think it's finding that key balance in terms of making enough to sustain yourself, and then having enough time to really find that answer to the long-term problem as well. So moving into lesson number 2 here is why teach financial literacy. And the first thing Robert says here is you have to build a strong foundation. Most people are trying to construct a skyscraper on a slab of concrete used for a residential home. So when they really start scaling up,
it crumbles.
It's going to lean and eventually crash and tumble. You have to build that huge, deep financial foundation to be able to really differentiate yourself and set yourself up for success.
And that's where understanding accounting really will benefit you, right? The true wealth requires a deep understanding of accounting, not just the numbers, but the story behind them as well.
Yeah, and that foundation also includes financial literacy and aptitude. So the school systems today are not teaching anything along the lines of financial literacy. So you have to be able to go and educate yourself to really build that foundation deep enough so you can construct that tall skyscraper.
Like I said, and the first takeaway, the quicker you understand that you could be the problem, the quicker you're going to be able to change and grow. Realize that, I'm tired of working my butt off constantly and not having two dimes to rub together.
Yeah.
The quicker you understand that, you're going to be able to do the things that are going to separate you from everybody else.
So moving on here, Robert says you have to understand rule number 1, know the difference between an asset and liability and buy assets. So what is an asset? An asset is anything that makes you money, essentially in the now or in the future. And a liability is directly the opposite, anything that costs you money. So there's a quote from R. Fuller in the book, and he defines wealth as the ability to survive a certain number of days without working. So you have to be able to aim to have assets generate enough income to cover your expenses. And that's when you know you are, quote unquote, wealthy.
So, okay, I got a question for you. Is a house an asset or a liability?
So
in your eyes,
before reading this book,
yes,
I would have said, yes, it's an asset.
Yeah.
Like it's contributing to your wealth. But that's actually one of my takeaways from this lesson too, is he says that it's not an asset, because in reality, it's costing you money in the long term. You got your mortgage payment, trash services, water, electricity, taxes, repairs. And what are you really, yes, you're getting equity in the house, but and it might appreciate,
but it's not making you any money.
Yes.
And so it's a liability.
Yeah. For your personal residence.
Yeah. Takeaways here. Mine is plant the tree, plant the beanstalk, and water and let it grow. Those are your assets, right? You're planting money into your asset column, and the more you add to that asset column, the more it's going to be able to grow, and the more you're going to be able to really use that to your advantage.
Nice.
And then secondly here is it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you spend. Living within your means is super important, and understanding that, maybe I want this, but do I need this? That will really set you up for the long-term success.
Yeah. So we already mentioned how the house is really a liability instead of an asset. So my other one I have here was Alvin Toffler's quote on the illiterate of the 21st century. He argued that it's not those who are not going to be able to earn or take in information, because the amount of information in this world currently is crazy, and there's no way you could possibly keep up. So the literate of this century is going to be those who can learn, unlearn, and then relearn at rapid speeds. So that goes back to building that foundation. So you may have built a foundation 40 years ago, but have you stay up to date with it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something to always keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So let's get into lesson 3 now, mind your own business. So first, he says to focus on assets. The wealthy concentrate on building their asset columns, where most people focus on their income statements and expenses.
Yeah, invest in what you love. You're way more likely to take care of the things that you truly like and enjoy and that you love than things that you don't really care about. And so you have to view investments the same way. Don't invest in companies that you don't know anything about, because you're not going to care. Invest in the companies that you know and that you like what they're doing, and you share the same why.
Yeah.
And next week's book is Start with Why, and it kind of plays into Rich Dad Poor Dad's mindset.
Yeah. And on top of that, not even companies. Like if you love to invest in baseball cards and you're really knowledgeable about that, then go invest in baseball cards. But you have to be able to build that asset column. And we're not saying that invest everything yet that you make. You're still able to enjoy those luxuries that you would like to have in life, but only after you ensure that your assets generate sufficient income where they can cover them. So you shouldn't, even though you're making $250,000 a year, you shouldn't go buy a $250,000 car, because
you can't afford it.
Yeah, you simply can't afford it. And then kind of coinciding with really the lesson here, mind your business. You have to understand the difference between profession and your business. your job may not equate to your own business and financial independence. So he mentioned, he asked somebody what was his role, I think, or like what was his business. He said he was a banker. And then Robert asked, well, do you own the bank?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't. He's like, well, it's not your business then. And this is not saying that you have to go own a business, but you have to be able to control your assets that are bringing you money. So this could be anything from owning stocks, real estate. Those all would classify as minding your business.
Your business is your asset column.
Yeah.
Is really what he was trying to drill down right there.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the net worth reality. Net worth may not truly reflect its true value because it's ultimately affected by taxes and other financial factors, often making it a lot less valuable than it may look.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Like when you go to sell something, after you sell it, and then the income taxes get taken out of that, you're really not getting that full value. So your net worth isn't really truly accurate.
Yeah.
So our takeaways from this lesson here is, mine was to be careful what you study. So like Robert's poor dad, he studied
books,
like higher and higher education. He learned more and more about less and less.
Yeah.
And this really constrained him and kind of put his blockers on to really the financial independence mindset. So you just have to be extremely careful on what you put all of your time into.
Mine is build your asset column first. Before you pay yourself, pay your business, pay your asset column. And so alternatively, what that will do is make it to where your assets are generating passive income that you're going to be able to use for your benefit later on.
Yeah. So moving on here to lesson 4 has to deal a lot with taxes. So he gives a little tax history here. And initially, there were no taxes in England and America except for occasional wartime levies.
Mm-hmm.
However, England made taxes permanent in 1874, and America followed in 1913. And these taxes were initially targeted at the rich, but the government got a taste of what taxes are, and they've actually trickled down into the middle and lower classes because of this revenue potential.
And he says that what really separates the wealthy is the use of corporations to their advantage. Corporations are a key tool for minimizing taxes and leveraging the financial opportunities, which is a major advantage that the rich take to their advantage, I would say, compared to like the middle class and lower class.
So the middle and lower classes see the rich people and they want to increase their taxes. So when government officials go into office and say they're going to increase taxes on the rich, it may sound good in theory,
but it's not going to do anything.
But in reality, those upper class are always going to find the loopholes,
the legal
loopholes to avoid that burden. Then what happens? It trickles back down until the middle and the lower classes, and then the cycle kind of repeats again. So you have to take on that mindset of the upper class and follow into those legal loopholes as well, which goes back to financial literacy.
Yeah, if you don't know what they are, then you're not going to be able to use them to your advantage. And that's what separates the wealthy from the middle and lower class.
Yeah, so Robert, going into the 4 components of financial IQ, the first one is accounting. Accurate management of finances becomes more critical with money, and understanding how money moves within your own balance sheet and income statement is of critical importance. Next is investing. You have to understand how to make money work for you through investments. And this goes back to play in what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it might take some time to understand the stock market per se, but if you're really good at identifying
trends
of, say, the energy sector,
mm-hmm.
and you like work in it, you're very knowledgeable about that, then
invest in energy. The third one here is understanding markets. Grasp the dynamic of supply and demand. Supply and demand truly runs the world. When you have a small demand, then you're not going to make any money. But if you have a ton of demand and no supply, then again, you're not going to be able to money. It's about finding the equilibrium where the two meet, really.
And this feeds into like your investment decisions.
Yeah. And lastly, the law, leveraging tax advantages and protecting assets through the legal strategies such as controlling assets without owning them outright.
Yeah.
Putting them into a corporation where you can use the tax benefits to where, you know, they make you money, you can spend the money, and then you have to pay taxes on the money.
Yeah. Moving into our takeaways from this lesson. First, for me, is it makes sense why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because even though you're going to try to increase the taxes on the rich, they're always going to jump through those loopholes.
Yeah.
And they're always going to keep increasing their wealth because they're piling money into their asset column. So I have another question for you here. Do you think members of the middle/lower class realize that the burden of taxes is falling onto them?
They become blind to it. The idea that, you know, tax the rich, in hindsight, that makes perfect sense. Other than the fact that they have a very strong financial IQ, and the middle and lower class, they have no financial IQ. And so, you know, tax the rich, sure, it's all going to come trickling down to the bottom of the totem pole.
Yep.
Going into my two takeaways, I really understand like the first three components of the financial IQ. And after reading this, it's really opened up my mind to the fourth one, which arguably could be the most important. And that's the law and how taxes truly work. And I guess to add on to that, the more you understand how taxes work, you can go from earning, paying taxes, and then being able to spend, to earning, spending, and then paying taxes later. And again, that adds to your asset column and minimizes the tax burden that people don't realize is really causing their financial struggles.
Yeah. And it's tough because who gets excited about learning about taxes? But you can always go see a professional tax advisor, and really you have to still know the basics to understand like what they're saying and what the options are. But the ability to really go to someone for professional help could help someone immensely if they're not truly interested in learning about all the taxes. So moving into lesson number 5 here, the rich invent money. So Robert has the idea of boldness over smarts. Success often favors the bold rather than just the smart. Confidence and courage can be more influential than academic achievements. And that boldness is kind of referred to as like having that X factor. So, for example, depending on when this podcast airs, UFC fights on Saturday, and Sean O'Malley fights, and I think he's someone who has that it factor, and really displays it. Like he's bold in his preparation, and he goes and displays it.
He doesn't have any fear of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people have. They have the fear and self-doubt, and that hinders you to really being able to achieve the things that you know you're capable of. And so then, like, creating luck. Success and luck are often results of bold actions and efforts. Take the risk, be confident, turn fear into a driving force of brilliance and success.
Yeah. And on top of that, you have to have a special ability to identify opportunities. Not just opportunities that you can see with your eyes, but the ability to see the opportunities with your mind. So that's a lot of people are looking for them with their eyes, which is why the ones that are easily spotted are picked out so quick. So the ability to have that framework in your mind to be able to go out and maybe put together different opportunities to create one massive opportunity that could change your life. That's really the importance of having that ability.
And he also separated investors into two different sections. You have the packaged investment buyers, and then you have the creators investments. The first one here is the package investment buyers, those who invest in mutual funds and REITs and index funds and things of that sort. And then the creators investments are the ones who look for the unique investment opportunities by combining various elements into their investment.
Yeah. So moving into our main takeaways for lesson 5, I would say my one is the ability to understand risk. And risk is more than just an odds thing. if you are very knowledgeable about a subject, your motives align with what that subject is trying to convey, then really that risk isn't as substantial because you have other abilities that other people don't have to identify that. So if you can understand your risk aptitude and the ability to display risk, I feel like that can help immensely, like in your life overall.
Yeah, going back to like the whole dark horse mindset, understanding what may seem like a risk to other people may not be a risk to you because you know kind of why you're doing what you're doing, and so you don't really see it as a risk. You see it more of as an opportunity.
Yeah,
that's where being bold really plays into it. And again, old ideas are liabilities because old ideas are from yesterday, and yesterday is gone. It's like throwing the log into the river and watching it go, as Marcus Aurelius said.
Nice. So the last lesson here: work to learn, don't work for money. So the first point he makes here is learning job security. For the educated dad or the poor dad, job security was paramount, while for the rich dad, continuous learning was key. So when Robert was growing up, he tried to instill this in him he was working at one of his stores for basically no money. So what the rich dad was trying to convey is you have to be able to work for nothing to be able to learn important lessons that could really cause an exponential curve later in your life.
Yeah, money doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's more about the opportunities of learning from people who know far more than you do. That's a real reward, not money.
Yeah. And most people are just one skill away. Many people are very close to achieving great wealth, but they're really just the skill of having like financial literacy. They're lacking that.
Yeah.
And if they would just develop that muscle, the wealth is like right around the corner for them in a sense.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it's important to have broad knowledge. It's kind of like being a jack of all trades, as you would say.
Yeah.
So, and that goes back to kind of wanting to work to learn.
Effort versus reward. Just like going to the gym, starting can be the hardest point. But once you begin, you start to see progress. And once you see progress, you don't want to stop because you get kind of addicted to the feeling and the emotion that you've received from beginning in the first place.
Yeah. And why do you want to go back home and go to bed when you're already there? Like you're going to get it in and you're going to get benefit out of it. So I thought an interesting point you made here too was the idea of unionized workplaces. If you're going to choose to specialize instead of being that jack of all trades, make sure you're working for a unionized company so it offers additional job security. Because if that company crashes or that whole industry crashes, people aren't going to want to hire someone that doesn't have skills that are transferable.
Yeah.
So the job security aspect, if you specialize, is critical.
And then he kind of talks about the key management skills. There are really 3 key management skills. First being cash flow management, understanding and managing money flow effectively and efficiently. Second one is people management, leading and managing teams successfully. People want to follow people who understand they know why they're doing what they're doing. It's going back into start with why, which is going to be next week's episode. Understanding why you're doing what you're doing is going to lead people to want to follow you without incentive or threatening them to want to follow.
Yeah.
And then third one
is systems management. So efficiently handling organizational systems and processes. Systems are what really drives the business forward. They're really the how you make your company tick. So I say we move into our main takeaways here.
Yeah.
And I think it is paramount that you develop the ability to sell and communicate.
Yeah.
It not just from the terms of like a sales job, but if you're not able to sell yourself or sell your ideas, how are you ever going to excel in the workplace or within your business? So I think those are 2 skills that are extremely valuable.
They're crucial, and that's why we have the same one here. You're not selling a product to people, you're selling yourself to people. And if you can't really communicate what you're trying to do, you're not going to be able to sell at all.
Yeah. So now the last 3 chapters kind of go into some different lists and some action items in a sense. So this first one is managing obstacles. And the point he makes here is the key difference between rich and poor individuals often lies in how they manage fear. So it goes back to Marcus Aurelius's mental resiliency and the ability to process issues. Fear can be a major obstacle to financial success if you let it.
Yeah, so the 5 main obstacles, number 1 being fear. Everyone experiences the fear of losing money, but it's crucial to handle it effectively. Embrace the risk with a positive attitude, and see failures as a learning opportunity, not as a down in the dumps opportunity. Look past the fact that you failed. At least you tried.
Yeah.
Be bold. Be authentic. For many, the fear of losing money outweighs the joy of being rich, which prevents financial success in the first place. And it's kind of like the Rockefellers approach: turn disasters into opportunities.
Yeah. The next one here is cynicism. So doubt and cynicism keep people safe, but also stagnant. Mm-hmm. Cynics often criticize rather than analyze for new opportunities. So don't bog yourself down in that. And then moving right into the next one
is laziness. Busy people can be the laziest, neglecting wealth, health, and relationships. They may seem busy on paper, but they're not adding any value to the other portions of their life. That's where greed comes into it. A strong desire for betterment can really drive the process and counteract laziness.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna hit on the last 2 pretty quick here because they're pretty commonplace, I would say. It's bad habits and arrogance. And then we'll just get right into our takeaways from managing obstacles here. I have Marcus Aurelius, like that. The stoic mindset that he takes on is critical to managing these obstacles because it all goes back to that mental resiliency, the ability to process issues and really determine what affects you and how to interpret those different events that happen in your life.
Mine is be unafraid of losing, right? You be bold, be authentic. It doesn't matter if you lose or win. At least you tried.
Yeah. So the next chapter here is getting started. So he gives 10 steps here, and I think we're going to just kind of rapid fire and back and forth.
Do it.
So step number 1, find a reason greater than reality. Your purpose should drive you to overcome challenges and keep you motivated.
Second one here is make daily choices, invest in education, and make mindful spending choices to reflect your priorities.
And then number 3 is choose friends carefully. Be careful who you surround yourself with because it really influences who you are.
Yeah. 4th is master a formula quickly and then learn a new one. Focus on mastering one financial strategy before you start trying to diversify yourself and learn multiple.
Yeah. Then pay yourself first. Add to that asset column as much as possible.
6 here is pay your brokers well. Select brokers who align with your investment philosophy and have a stake in the outcomes as well.
And then 7 is be an Indian giver. So what does that mean? And make sure you recover your investments quickly and efficiently so they're not just getting lost out in the abyss in a sense.
Yeah, and 8 is use your assets to buy the luxuries. When you have passive income coming in, you can use that income to buy the things that you want to buy. Don't use the income that you use from your employment to buy these things. Use the money that you get from your business, your asset column.
Yeah. 9 is choose heroes. Emulate successful role models to inspire your own success.
And then lastly, and arguably the most important, teach and you shall receive. Sharing knowledge and teaching others enhances your own learning and success.
Awesome. Yeah. And then the last chapter was to-dos. And I think we'll just list them here. Mm-hmm. And I think once you guys get your hand on the book, you guys can really dive deeper into them. So I'll take the first 4 and then you take the last 5. So first one is stop doing what's not working. 2 is seek new ideas. 3 is find a mentor. 4 is invest in learning.
5 is make lots of offers. 6, shop for bargains. 7, think big. 8, learn from history. And 9, prioritize action.
Awesome. And then I think we have a few takeaways from just generally from the entire book. If you want to hit on yours.
Yeah, there are lots of different ways to make money become wealthy, but the way will only work those ways will only work if you are financially financially intelligent. Along with the more skills you have, the better position you'll be. Kind of like an NFL player. You see all these professional athletes after they retire, they end up going broke. Like Adrian Peterson just filed for bankruptcy, right? They're only skilled in one thing, and once they're done using that one skill, they have no other skills to really maximize their potential.
Yeah, and I think that is paramount too, because you can be extremely passionate about something, like your purpose is driving you, but say you create a business, you have to know how the money flows and the money works, because otherwise it's going to go under.
Yeah. So I guess for implementation, for me, obviously, it's look to learn rather than to earn money or rewards. The more you can learn, the better off and the easier that the money and rewards will come later on.
Do you have something that you are going to attend or research in the next week that you are going to?
Yeah, I've been for one of my classes, I have to interview a couple different people, and so I've already been able to kind of to look and listen and listen. You're going to be able to learn and take away from the experiences that these people have been faced with.
Yeah, that's good. So my implementation for the week is what gets measured gets accomplished. So I'm going to get my income statement and my balance sheet in order, so I can really start tracking those assets and determine what I got to do to really grow that asset column.
Go on to favorite quotes here.
Yeah. So I'll plug back in the Robert Frost quote from one of his poems. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and it made all the difference. In your life, be open to taking the path that's not normal. That's not go to the university for 4 years. Go get a job that has really good benefits. Work your butt off in that role, and get your promotion. Then when you're 60, you can retire.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can go play golf with your buddies and hopefully stay around to see your grandkids if you end up having kids of your own. But if you're open to taking that path that not a lot of people travel, I would encourage you to do it, as that's what Chris and I are going to work towards ourselves.
Yeah, so I have 2 quotes here. Is the first one, you're only poor if you give up, right? If you're going to give up, then why start in the first place?
Yeah.
And then second, probably my favorite quote that I've had so far is, why not own the ladder? Why not own the corporate ladder? The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you're investing in your business, in your asset column, in order to pay for these opportunities that you didn't even know were there in the first place.
Yeah, rather than trying to climb the corporate ladder yourself, which is challenging, because then you get into politics per se, or it really falls down to timing a lot in trying to climb the corporate ladder. So any other points you want to make about Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No, I think we did a pretty good job hitting all the key points.
Awesome. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's books. It is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And this wraps up this week's episode. So we just want to thank you all for tuning in, and make sure you follow us on all of our socials.
Yeah, Instagram and TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, all at Bound to Improve.
Awesome. Be sure to always leave your comments for suggestions, feedback, books you would like us to check out, and
see you next time.
Thank you.